What's good, y'all? It's your main man, Michael Smith, back for episode 2. What a week it's been since we last talked. A lot has happened. Obviously, my favorite sporting event, the NFL draft, took place. It is now in the rear view. My main man, Chris Sims, is going to be by later to help me unpack some of the biggest winners and losers from the draft, specifically from later in the draft, because I'm hardcore. I like the day 3 guys. I spent my Saturday in front of the TV watching every single pick all the way through round 7 and following the undrafted free agents. We're going to talk to a big winner from the draft who wasn't drafted. He was drafted last year with the 74th pick. That's Desmond Ridder of the Atlanta Falcons. They got him a whole lot of help on offense in the form of Bijan Robinson in the first round and offensive tackle Matthew Bergeron in the second round. But first, we're going to lead off with one of the best storytellers in the business, Marcus Thompson from The Athletic. He's going to take us inside Steph Curry's Game 7 masterpiece, inside the mind of Steph Curry, what drives him to continue to reinvent himself and take his game to new levels, even at age 35, as the Warriors prepare to take on the Los Angeles Lakers in the Western Conference semis. Marcus Thompson, my first guest on episode 2 of my main man, Michael Smith. All right, before we close the book on that epic Game 7 performance from Steph Curry and turn the page to what promises to be an epic reunion between Steph's Warriors and LeBron James's Lakers in the playoffs, who better to talk to than the Athletics' Marcus Thompson, who's literally written a book on Steph Curry and the Warriors, written a book on the dynasties that shaped NBA history, and just recently co-authored with Shams a great behind-the-scenes look at Steph's rallying cry, his speech to his teammates prior to that Game 7 explosion. So, Marcus, man, first things first, great piece as usual. Is there a story behind the story?
Yeah, there always is, right? That's what we do. First off, it's a pleasure to be on my main man, Michael Smith. You feel me? That's what I'm talking about. But so there's just been a lot of mess on this team, a lot of mess. And I didn't go to Game 6. My daughter was in her first theatrical performance in high school.
Nice.
So I told Steph in Game 5, I was like, look, bruh, I need you to win Game 5 because I can't be at Game 6. But if they lost Game 5 and Game 6 would have been the end of like the dynasty era, I was like, yo, then I kind of got to be at that and I can't go to the play. So I was like, if y'all win Game 5, then it don't matter what happened Game 6 because there'll be a Game 7. So
don't put me in this position, Steph.
Yeah, don't make me choose, right? So they won Game 5, and I'm like, right on. So then I missed Game 6, and I watch it like, the replay, and I'm like, they were awful. They were done. You saw all this, like, just discombobulation. They didn't play well. They looked like a mess on the bench. You got dudes shoving guys. It was just a mess. So when I see Steph Game 7, like before everybody, they look so calm, right? It's like I expected to be walking into chaos. You know me, man. I'm a reporter, so I'm like, oh, it's going down. This is the end. Like, let's get
it's
the
falling
juice.
apart.
Let's get the juice. So I know a lot of people don't understand it, but the Warriors used to be more like this before the chaos. See, my days cutting my teeth as a writer was on the Warriors when they were terrible. You feel me? So
So you know what it looks like.
This is in my lane. Like, this is going down. We about to get some trade demands. We probably, people about to start sniping on dropping names on
air
this
dirty
records.
Laundry.
It was going down. So I get to Game 7, like, yo, they calm. They are chilling, right? And I'm like, yo, what is happening? And I keep hearing the speech, Steph's speech. Hey, yo, Steph's speech, right? Like, and I got a little wind of it on the day before. Like, oh man, we go, people talking about what's gonna happen. Oh, we gonna be good, man. You should have heard what Steph said to the team. Like, oh, okay, all right, let me do some digging. So, before the game was a little weird. Then he drops 50, and then people are like, I told you. So I go up to Steph and I'm like, hey man, I heard this speech was epic. And he looks me in the face and he just starts like gets all real serious and was like, it is now. And then bust out to laughing.
Exactly.
And then like bust into laughter. I'm like, yeah. If you go 4 for 16 and y'all lose, it probably ain't that big of a speech. But
and I want you to keep going, but just to interject, I said this yesterday. Nobody ever talks about the halftime speeches or the pregame speeches or the night before the game speeches when they lose. Like, you mean to tell me like somebody had to have said something good even though y'all got blown out,
Right? Maybe the greatest speeches of all time preceded L's, right? Like, we don't even know because nobody will never know. Like, yo, man, I challenged my Barack Obama, but we still lost by 20. Like, it doesn't matter. So Steph was like, yeah, I mean, it is now because we actually went out there and won, but it was a trip to hear. One of the unique things about it, Michael, is like, these dudes are often really jaded, not from the sense of like the sport, but it's hard for words to move them. I mean, they make a lot of money, and think about it, especially this team, full of like 30-year-olds. They've heard every speech in the book, so all they have is people talking to them, right? And then you got this modern generation of player who grew up on social media. All they have is coaches talking to them, right? Real coaches, AAU coaches, and then the coaches on social media who know everything, right? So the idea that somebody can say something to move them, that to me was like, wow. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just don't. I mean, Draymond is your teammate. You get a speech every day, right?
Yeah.
Like, so
Steve
it's
Kerr's
like,
not bad.
Steve Kerr, right? Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like, wow. So to see like these pros who had already won a championship, who already been through the ringer, like, oh, nah, 30 said something. We good. That was to me the part that was like real, like, yo. So then at that point, it's like, yo, so what did he say? I need all the details, man. Give me the tea. And I know you'll appreciate this, man. We spent a couple years out of the locker room because of the pandemic. And man, it was just so fun again to like have a story that don't nobody have, and you got to get the details without telling nobody. You remember the days, like, know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah,
dude, you're giving me chills. You're giving me
chills.
Like,
yeah.
But I want to get to what it says about Steph, but first what it says about you. Not only a couple of things jumped out from that story just now. One, your ability to see what was happening even though you weren't there. Much like Draymond when he was suspended. It was like you've been around this team so much till you were able to notice things from afar that a lot of people probably didn't pick up on that were already there for Game 6. Secondly, how were you able to find out about this speech? You say you heard about it the day before and even leading up to the game, and nobody else had it, which again says a lot about your connections with this organization. So you must have been mad nervous sitting on this story and gathering information, hoping that nobody else knew.
Well, I was, and then I got a text message from my guy, Shams Charania, and he was like, yo, man, apparently Steph gave this epic speech. And I was like, oh, you heard it too? Then I was like, oh, it's on, right? Because, Shams be knowing everybody. At least it's your teammate. Like, yeah, exactly. So my teammate had something, and he's telling me, and I'm like, so he had some of the details already. And at that point, once me and him started working it, at that point, it was easy. Then it just became about just became about
that's Shaq and Kobe right there.
Yeah, right. It was just like, hey, make sure don't nobody hear. The funny inside baseball story was like, so I'm going around trying to get people by myself, and I talked to Draymond, and Draymond was central to the story because he kind of was the start of it. It's like him, Steph, Clay were talking, and that's how it kind of got sparked. Where Steph is like, "Yo, give me the mic," but I'm talking to Draymond. And he's, giving me his 2 cents, and he's like basically reliving it and getting all hyped, right? Like he's like Al Pacino in Any Given Sunday, right? He's like, we fight for that inch on this team. So exactly, the 6 inches in front of your face. So I'm talking to Draymond, and once you get Draymond, it's like, all right, that's it, you got it. And then I get a call from Shams, and he's like, oh man, somebody, because Shamsa's not there, by the way, just for the record, he's not in Sacramento. So he's like, call me, oh man, Draymond was just talking about speech about somebody. Like we're in the hall. I just talked to him. He's like, oh, Draymond's talking to somebody about it. You think somebody else know? I was like, no, he was talking to me. But how you know?
Damn, he got spies, man.
That's how good Sean is. Like, wait, how you? I just had this conversation. Like, what? Like,
that's dope. Yeah, that's dope.
That's crazy. That dude is next level, man.
Both of y'all are next level. So, speaking of Steph and this next level, so, all right, I'll give you my spiel, and then obviously, you're the expert on him and his body of work. I controlled myself and refrained from coming to and making any grand declarations, proclamations about Steph and where he ranks in his greatness and him versus somebody else, even though it's him versus LeBron this next series, because I kind of felt like I was in a museum. And not a lot of talking happens in a museum. It's like you're just there to admire. You're there to appreciate. You're there to take it all in. And I just wanted to take in the first 50-point game in Game 7 in NBA history. A career high from Steph Curry, a playoff career high from Steph Curry at age 35. I just didn't want to ruin it by talking and by getting into, legacy talk. Having said that, though, what is fascinating about Steph is it possible, and I guess here's the question in a roundabout way, is it possible that, because usually about 35, it kind of is what it is and you are what you are. Is it possible that Steph, given what he did last postseason, what he just did, and what he still might do, is in the process, and I'm talking to his biographer, in the process of maybe rewriting his reputation, if that makes sense?
Yo, life is crazy, yo. Like, just how this stuff works. It just the answer is yes. It's wild that A, he needs to, and B, that he sees a need to, right? There was a moment.
That's the key point.
Was it like I think it might have been last year or the year before? No, it was after he came back 2021, and remember, he was like crazy, and everybody was like, "Oh yeah, Steph ain't done," because he hadn't played in a long time. He got hurt the year before. They were 15 and 55, and he was incredible. He averaged like 32 points. Dragged like this team to the play-in, like
MVP talk. Yeah.
And it was like, yeah, man. At that point, everybody was like unanimously like, "Yo, this dude is the truth." Because in this world universe that flipped on us, somehow it became less about winning and more about like what you could do with the least, right?
Right. Doing more or less, yes. Yes.
Like that, imagine if we determined chefs like that. Like, yo, man, I don't care how you make Wagyu, right? Like, go in the fridge, throw some lunch meat in there. If you could make something better out of leftovers, you a real chef. Like, that don't really make sense.
I think there's a TV show.
There literally is,
on Food
and it's
Network.
trash. Like, we're not buying that stuff. I'm not spending $75 on what you can make out of nothing. But so he kind of did that, and people were like, "Oh, okay, you are the truth." So I remember talking to him like, "Yo, like, is this weird now?" Where people are just kind of like saying, "Yeah, you're the one." He's like, "What? Man, let one thing happen, they'll be right back on my neck." Like, in his mind, he's like, "Nah, like it's prisoner of the moment. Like, people will still find a reason to be critical of me." So to me, it's unique for somebody to have accomplished everything he's accomplished and to still feel like you need something to prove, which is, from my upbringing, exactly how you always heard the greats are. And that's the jarring thing to me about this. Like, I grew up watching like MJ, Jerry Rice. You know what I'm saying? Like these tremendous figures. Like, Ricky Henderson went to my high school. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody is Ricky Henderson's cousin in Oakland, right? Like you hear about these people, and you're drawn to them in sports So the part that's jarring to me is like, and I have to remind myself, I literally, Michael, have to say, yo, this is one of them dudes. Like, I'm covering one of these dudes, right?
Right.
One of these dudes who, like, in 30 years, will be telling stories about how, why is he so mad with 2 MVPs? Like, why is he out to prove the world wrong with 4 championships, right? Like,
Yeah.
but that's why he's different. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why he's unique, because he's sitting at home with he was with 3 championships, 2 MVPs, like plotting how I'm about to come back and show y'all something. You know what I'm saying? Like he averages 32 at like 33 years old, and is on the mic talking about, y'all want to see us next year. Like, the dude is a maniac in the same way that all of our superstars are maniac,
Kobe,
right? Like
Jordan,
that's why
all that stuff.
Absolutely. He's a psycho. And he's like, I feel like, there was a part where Kobe felt like he was so closed off, and then if something happened, he's like, yo, I'm just gonna talk my piece. I'm just gonna say what I feel. Like, I don't care. I'm just gonna do me. And I feel like Steph is at that level. And also, like, like how Mike changed his game. It went from like high flying to turnarounds and fadeaways, and I'm just gonna kill you with these deuces. Like, I feel like Steph has hit that spot too. It's like, okay, y'all gonna take away my 3. Let me start taking advantage of this other stuff. And he's figuring out another way to dominate. So now when you put it all together, his 3-point shooting, and now his mid-range, and his ability to get to the basket, and he's so much stronger now. It's all because he's
gotten better.
He's literally getting better, and he's 35. He's got like 3 kids. He got a family. He cares less about what he's saying. He's already filthy rich. So now he's talking his talk.
Yeah.
So it does feel like a new, like, kind of creation. I'm just looking at this dude like, yo, he turned to them dudes and said, like the beam at the end of the game. This is not the Steph Curry from 2012, right? Like he talking his talk.
Right. This is you're talking about, y'all ain't ready for this. I mean,
y'all ain't
ready for this. I said, I feel like, I guess one of the best compliments I could give him, and I felt this way at a certain point about LeBron, the LeBron versus Jordan never-ending debate, is like, Steph's just one of one, and I think he's ended the debate, not won a debate over best point guard, or is he top 5 or top 10. I think he's ended it, as in he's transcended it. It's like there is no, it's almost pointless. There's no wrong answer. Like, if you want to say he's the greatest whatever, I mean, he's already obviously the GOAT shooter, but if you want to say he's the greatest point guard or a top 5 player or a Mount Rushmore, whatever you want to say, like, there's no denying it anymore, and therefore there is no debate. There's no counter argument to Steph anymore. Just like there's no counter to what he brings to the table. There's really no counter argument to anything you want to say about him at this point. Don't let him beat LeBron en route to a 5th championship. That chorus is going to get even louder. But let me ask you this, because I know, speaking of your daughter, you got to bring her to school pretty soon. I appreciate you waking up early with me. Had it gone the other way, just to bring this conversation full circle, had they gone the other way, and it did end in 6, and unfortunately you had to choose, or you missed it. You probably would have missed it because that's the kind of dad you are. Had the dynasty ended, had the season ended, would the dynasty have ended with it? And the other half of that question is, regardless of what happens from here on out, Bob Myers is a free agent. Draymond Green is, of course, a free agent. Like, there's no way they're going to split this up now, is there? Or is it still to be determined based on how the season plays out? Because even Steve Kerr said earlier this year, this isn't the last dance. But I ask you, is it kind of, sort of?
Man, we in that same space you in. Like, is it? If they'd have lost, I think it'd have been done. I think that would have been it. Not because that they lost, but the way they went out. Like, a mess. You know what I'm saying? Like, this ain't working. It's not like, yo, if Sacramento had beat them and the Warriors just looked like, hey, we finally found a team that had our number, it's cool. But they went out like they went out like some suckers in Game 6. If that's how the dynasty would have ended, where you can't get, like, it's just, there's just been too much, and the price for this is historic. Like, that's the part that is good. Like, the Draymond, he has a opt out But if he picks it up, and then you got Clay making 43 and Steph making 50, I mean, we're getting into, we're past Neiman and Marcus now. We're into them stores that ain't got no name on it. Like, it's that price.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
with security at the door, they only let a certain number of people in at a time.
Absolutely.
You got to wait outside. And we're going to text you when it's time to get in.
where poor folks like us walk by and be like, hey, I wonder what they sell in there. Like, you don't even get to know, buddy. Like, we at that level. So I do think, like, my guy, Ethan Strauss, he wrote about this. Like, the reason it was great, because like the alternative was epic disaster, right? Like, they were playing for a dynasty. Like, that's why this 50 was crazy. 50 in the game 7 is crazy, but it was literally to save a dynasty, right? Like, and
not just a season, a dynasty.
Yeah,
and coming off of that game 6.
Coming off of that
crazy.
game 6, there was so much, there's so much hanging in the balance. Like, we still don't know, right? Bob Myers could leave, and I think if Bob Myers leaves, that would be a major, major cultural change to where 30-something-year-olds look and be like, do I want to do this, right? Like, they're fighting to keep what they've built together, and the economy of the NBA is fighting to break it apart. And the owner is sitting at the top trying to decide, do I just pay the price to keep together this like once in a generation thing, or do I let the economy win out? Like, that's literally what's happened. And they're trying to say, we are worth the money. Like we are them dudes, you pay for us, right? And so if they flame out, the answer is, all right, you were them dudes, but this is the highest the price has ever been for them. It wasn't this high when it was KD. So now it's like Jordan Poole and them. So now the owner is like, yo, do I want to spend this much? So to me, that's what made the game 7 so big. Like, you just don't know what's going to happen. And you've been around the stuff, Mike. When it ends, it's a soap opera, right? All kind of stuff is happening. And so to me, that's what they staved off, right? And maybe now it's pretty evident. Like, Tim Kawakami wrote, like, you can't break this up, dude, because even if you don't win a championship, these dudes giving you moments. They giving you history. Like, it's live. Right. Like you said, it's a museum with jerseys on. Like, every time you might see something incredible. You just don't know. And how do you not pay for that?
You constantly giving bars, giving gems. Marcus, we appreciate you, man. Thanks for giving us the time. Go bring your daughter to school. Stakes is high. I'm sure we'll be talking to you again real soon. Maybe like next week or something, given that they're only about to face LeBron and the Lakers. Marcus Thompson from The Athletic, bro.
You ready for
Love
this?
You, man. Appreciate you. Oh, I don't know if I'm ready. I don't know.
Is this going to be like a Rocky movie, or is this like
or Creed?
LeBron Steph 5 Rocky movie, or Incredible?
Yeah, this is going to be Creed. This is Rocky Drago. Creed and young Drago.
I just hope it ain't 38-year-olds like, maybe y'all should have stopped at 3. Deuces, homie. Appreciate you.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate you. Desmond Ridder was, of course, a winner at Cincinnati. The Falcons won 2 of his 4 starts last year, the last 2 games of the season, as a matter of fact. And I don't know that there were many, if any, bigger winners from the 2023 draft than the Falcons' second-year quarterback, who is kind enough to join me now. Winners in terms of people who weren't actually picked. Because I want to go back to Thursday night, Des. Falcons are on the clock at number 8. Commissioner steps to the podium and says, with the 8th pick of the 2023 NFL draft, the Atlanta Falcons select Bijan Robinson, running back, University of Texas. And your reaction is what?
For me, honestly, it was about protection. I know he's a playmaker. I know what he can do. But I know they up in the room with Terry and Art. They're only going to draft smart guys and guys that are good in the classroom. So I know Bijan's smart. But I know he's also good at pass pro too. So for me, it always feels safety and security to know that you're going to be picked up in the pass game. And then once you hand it off, it's up to them. And obviously that's why he was the 8th pick, because he can do what he can do.
That is such a quarterback answer. Your first thought went to pass pro. Can this guy help give me some protection? That's awesome. Besides everything else he could do in the run and the pass game, of course. When did you first learn Because, we had heard it. It was in a lot of mock drafts, a lot of speculation, and a lot of prognostication that the Falcons were, in fact, targeting Bijan Robinson. When did you first learn of your team's plans?
What was it, about Thursday night at whatever time we picked the 8th pick, I think it was.
Okay.
When the commissioner stepped up, that's when I knew you were going with.
So you was as surprised as us. So, like, what were your expectations then going into the draft?
Oh, I mean, my expectations, for myself and the team, it wasn't that's not something that I could control. So, I know that those guys, Art and, Terry and Mr. Blank up there, they do a heck of the job of what they do in their job. So, I just show up to work every single day and just try to better myself and my teammates. And then obviously, they're going to bring in those guys to help, better the team as well.
I mean, we've seen teams take quarterbacks when they have quarterbacks. I mean, Aaron Rodgers could tell you about that in Green Bay. Was there any thought or even concern, if I may, on your part, that the Falcons could take a quarterback at number 8?
Yeah, I think you see it, at every level. It doesn't matter. This is a game where everything is based off, what you do on the field. And so, I just try to show up every single day and go to work, whether that's classroom, weight room, on the field. And then, put my best foot forward so that when that decision comes, that they know that, they have someone in the building who's going to be the right person. But, like I said, at the end of the day, that's obviously something that I don't control. But what I can control is my work ethic every single day.
So you get Bijan in the first round to help make your life easier, both in pass pro and the running game and the receiving game. He can do it all, along with Tyler Algier, who you already had. And then the Falcons hook you up with Matthew Bergeron, offensive lineman from Syracuse, in the second round. So what are you thinking then?
Then I'm thinking great protection. We signed back Caleb McGarry, signed back Chris Lindstrom. Obviously, Jake being a big vet for us, and then Drew Dahlman at center. And, we're just looking for that next guy. And obviously, that's what they saw in him. And, just watching his tape, obviously a mean physical guy. And so, that's something that we want on our front line. Someone that plays with speed and passion, and that's obviously what they saw.
So I read this. I don't know if you knew this, but I read that the Falcons are the first team in NFL history to take a wide receiver, tight end, and running back in the top 10 in back-to-back-to-back drafts. As a quarterback, how do you see your role in an offense with so much talent, including yourself included, of course?
Yeah, for sure. It's just going out there and from my standpoint, it's not trying to do too much, whether that's physically or mentally. But like you said, you have playmakers around you on my side of the ball on the offensive side. So give it to the playmakers. Let them go make plays. Never try to do anything that's outside of the system, rather than just, stay within the system, stay within your rules, and then get the plays executed.
Yeah, that phrase, not try to do too much. And I hear where you're coming from. And I don't want to make the mistake, because it's like, and I'm sure you hear it, and we'll get into all the talk or what have you. But the idea that, Desmond Ridder doesn't have to do a lot. All he got to do is just hand the ball off and get out the way. I don't want to make the mistake of minimizing your job as a quarterback. What do you think when you hear people say, that's, Desmond Ridder is the weak link, or Desmond Ridder isn't the guy, doesn't have to do a whole lot in this offense, given the running game that Arthur Smith has?
Yeah, no, obviously, a lot of people just look at it as, just getting back there and handing the ball off, which from a physical aspect, that might be, but from a mental aspect, it's, getting in the right check, setting up the right run game. So then that, when you're just going to hand the ball off, it explodes for a big play. But then, obviously when times comes and situational football, whether it's third down, 2-minute red zone, you got to be ready to go, whether that's, play pass, drop back, RPO, it doesn't matter. So, both physically and mentally, you have to be locked in every single game, every single play. And then, throughout every single day of the week, throughout a long season. So, and not only keeping yourself, mentally there, but keeping everyone else there too as the long season goes on.
So have you linked with Bijan yet?
Yeah, we've had some conversation.
Yeah. What do you think so far? What's your first impressions?
Obviously, we just had small talk over text messages. I just told him, show up, be ready to work, which I know he's going to be. But like I said, too, I think I kind of shot him the same text and was like, hey, I like you in pass pro, too, so don't forget about that.
And I'm sure you're familiar with his work, but did you just, as soon as they picked him, did you go start watching highlights and getting excited?
Yeah, obviously all the other highlights that weren't already posted, I mean, that's what, you're going back and just looking and seeing, scrolling through your phone. But yeah, like I said, just an explosive, smart kid. And I know he's just going to come in here ready to work.
Des, do you hear the talk? Do you hear the doubts that people have about you and your ability to be the type of quarterback that can pilot this offense?
Yeah, I mean, I hear it. It kind of goes in one ear and out the other, but it's always there. You pick up your phone, it's there. You turn on the TV, it's there. That's fine with me. That's kind of how my career has been ever since I was a younger kid. And like I said earlier in this, for me, it's just showing up to work every single day. Not proven to others, but proven to yourself that you have the right to be here, that you earned your way to be here. And so really just go to work.
How do you get to a point how did you get to a point where you allow doubts and naysayers to go in one ear and out the other?
Turn it into a quick little laugh. Sometimes some of it's funny. Sometimes, people might take it personal or whatever. But for me, some of them I just get a good little chuckle out of and kind of keep going about my day. But no, it's really just, started young, just, knowing that, there's always going to be outside noise. There's always going to be people, who are either with you or against you. But, you kind of just have to stay neutral in all of it, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Kind of take all of that and just take the average of it, just stay neutral, never be too high, never be too low. And I think, that's really what's helped me throughout my career.
And I mentioned those 4 starts last year. Statistically, it seemed like you got better over the course of those 4 starts. How would you describe your progression toward the end of last year and heading into this offseason?
Yeah, I mean, I would obviously say it starts, earlier than that. But, you go into, the season as a backup and, learning under Marcus was great for me as far as off the field preparation wise. And then, I get to those games. And for me, it was just going out there and, like I said, not proving to anyone else, but proving to myself that, one, I deserve to be out there. 2, I can play with the best. And so then, after the first loss and the second loss obviously was tough. And then now you're just searching for a win. Was able to find those within the last 2 games. So, and then there, like you said, there was progress between each game. And so, for me and throughout my career, it's obviously not only been progress each week, but progress each year. You go back and look at my college film, and I felt like, I got better at, a little thing each and every year, which just improved my game each and every year. And so, that's obviously something that, I've taken to heart, obviously, throughout my career is just, not only improving day to day, but in the overall picture, I've improved year to year.
So you have, you take over toward the end of the season, you enter into the offseason, and at some point Arthur Smith said, Desmond Ridder is going into the next season as our quarterback, even with the signing of Taylor Heineke. And yet everybody was linking Lamar Jackson to the Falcons, or, in mock drafts, whether it was Will Levis or C.J. Stroud or whoever at number 8 pick. Did you ever have any kind of conversations with the organization about your standing in the midst of all this speculation?
Like I said earlier, this is a performance-based game. So, everything's based off performance. So I knew at the end of the day, all I could do is go out there and work and put my best foot forward. But, for me, it was just about showing up every single day, just going to work. And then obviously I've been through the draft process. So, I've seen all the mock drafts and seen everything from, my own eyes. So, I know you take those with a grain of salt and can toss them out the window. But no, it's just, for me, it's just show up, work every single day, how you've been doing your whole life. And then, if you make that decision, then obviously at the end of the day, it's performance and you've got to go out there and perform.
So if you never had a conversation with the Falcons clarifying that you are the guy and they weren't going to get a quarterback, then is it because they just know that you're not the type of guy that needs that pep talk? Because, just from outside, and this is why you do what you do and I do what I do. I'd be like, yo, what's up with all this? I know it's being what y'all have said publicly, but there's a whole lot of speculation, a whole lot of smoke. I'd have probably wanted to ask him about it. Why didn't they feel the need that they needed to address it with you? Is that just the way you carry yourself?
Yeah, I just felt like, they knew, from the back end of the season, that, I was progressing and doing everything that I needed to do. And they saw that, I was taking the leadership roles of, taking command of the team. And then, through the offseason, just working with the guys, that, that they had the trust and I had the trust in them, that they knew that I was the guy. And so, that's kind of how it ended up.
And they were true to their word. I mean, Arthur Smith said he wasn't into Lamar Jackson, despite the speculation. And not only did they keep you as quarterback, but they gave you more protection, as we talked about, in the form of Bijan Robinson and Matthew Bergeron. I'll tell you what, though, man, what I know is that being a dad kind of makes everything else, it puts everything else in perspective. Congratulations. I know your daughter Layton just recently celebrated her 2nd birthday. I'm jealous because I would love to turn back time. My son, my 2nd child, turned 15 today. I got an almost 17-year-old, a 15-year-old, and a 10-year-old. So, brother, I would trade places with you in a second because, as you know, it flies by. What is Layton doing right now? What are some of the things, her development that's kind of that's blowing your mind lately?
Yeah, I mean, other than just, her own little personality, which obviously you just see grow over time, but it's really just, the little like human things that, she starts to do that you're like, wow, okay, you're your own little person. She's got all of her baby dolls. We just had to order on Amazon the other day, some fake bottles. So, she walks around acting like, she's a mother that's been doing this for months on months on months. And so it's kind of wild just to see, just the little things that she picks up on. Some of the mannerisms that she has and just how she goes about her own day.
I got 2 words for you, player. American Girl. If she's in the dolls now, has she got American Girl yet?
She's got a couple, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's my youngest. My youngest got a whole room devoted to it. Okay, it's a whole nother conversation right there. How has fatherhood helped you as a professional?
Yeah, I think for me, it's really just patience. Obviously, you have to have patience back home, with Layton and my daughter. And I think, that just goes and turns it in the real world. When things are thrown at you, obviously, as being a first-time parent, there are a lot of things that come at you that, you don't have any clue how to handle. But sometimes you just got to take a step back, take a deep breath, try to figure out different angles and different ways to go about it that might be the most successful. And so you kind of take that into football, into this profession, that's the same thing that happens, a defense or, a coach might hammer you with questions, whatever it may be. Sometimes you just have to stop, take a step back, have patience, think about it, go over, the right steps and then deliver your answer.
And how would you describe yourself as a dad?
I would say, I'm pretty obviously energetic, but, pretty hands-on too. And then, I would also say I give space. As growing up, my mom had me at a young age. She was 15 when she had me. So we were kind of learning together and we were growing together. And so it was, kind of do your own thing. And I'm a watch over you as a safety precaution. So, that's a lot of the same things that I try to put on Layton as far as, if she's going over doing some or, maybe something a little dangerous. Hey, I'm a watcher. I'm not going to say, hey, don't do that or this and that. But I'm a watcher and obviously make sure she's safe and everything. But, I want her to figure it out on her own. I want her to be able to, figure out different problems and different solutions on, maybe how to get out of her toy car that she can't crawl over all by herself. But, I want her to let her figure it out and obviously be there for her if she needed the help. And so that's just really where I feel like, I try to be as a dad is just there, but, not be too hover over.
How else would you say that relationship with your mother, Sarah, by the way, my wife's name is Sarah, that relationship with your mother, with an H too, by the way, that relationship with your mother, like you said, having you at the age of 15, how else has that shaped you as a father, as a husband now, or just as a man?
Yeah, I think it just made me mature really quick. For me growing up, I was, for my age, I was always the youngest in my class. But then, in physical attributes, I was always the tallest, fastest, strongest. And then, in the mind, I felt like I was always more mature than everyone else. Obviously, growing up, seeing, things that, maybe some people shouldn't see at that age and this and that. It just made you obviously mature a lot quicker. And so, I feel like for me, being a husband, being a father, being a leader of a team, it's really about just the maturity that you have. And then kind of going back to just the patience that you have, not only, maybe with your wife or your daughter, but, with your teammates as well. So just being patient and just being, the man that I knew that, my mom raised me to be.
So when you became a young father yourself, did you just feel like, I got this? I've had a pretty good example, as opposed to a lot of us were like, even though, look, my parents, I think they did a good job, but I was scared to death when it was time for me to become a father. How did your relationship with your mother and the way you came up prepare you when it was time for you to be a young father yourself?
Oh man, I was excited. I was ready to go. It could have happened a little sooner, but obviously it didn't. No, growing up, throughout high school and early college, I'm telling all my buddies, I want a little kid. So when I go out here to practice, they're out here running around with me, this and that. And obviously, Claire, my wife, my girlfriend at the time or whatever, she wasn't having no parts of that. So, obviously we pushed it off for a little bit. But no, like I said, it just made me just more mature. Just made me, be able to go about my day and just, figure out that there's something bigger, there's something better that's there for you.
Yeah, usually it's the opposite. Usually it's the missus that that's trying to say, hey, let's get this going. You feel like your calling was to be a dad. It sounds like.
Yeah, growing up, I felt that relationship between my mother and I. I always said, I didn't, and there's nothing wrong with it or anything, but I didn't want to be the older dad. And, when my son is 11 or whatever, I'm in the upper 50s or whatever it may be. And, I can't go out there and throw a ball with him because my shoulder's a little messed up or whatever it is.
You want to be able to dunk on him.
Yeah, I want to be able to go out there and still be able to play, still be able to talk my game and back it up. So, that was obviously something that, I just, not took pride in, but took pride in.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Tell me more about your upbringing, man, because it wasn't just your mom. You grew up living with, a few family members. You had, I believe your grandmother, who I believe taught you how to throw a football, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. Aunt, uncle, and a cousin living with you. What was your home life like growing up?
Yeah, so growing up, from an early age, we was in grandma's house. Obviously, like I said, my mom was young, so obviously she's still living with her mom. And then my aunt and uncle were about, 4 or 5 years older than my mom. So, at the time when I'm, 2 through 6, everyone's kind of in their, into high school, college phase, into college. So everyone's right in that party phase. So like I said earlier, when, I seeing things that, maybe some kids at the age of 3, 4, 2 might not have seen in their lifetime, which made me mature a little bit quicker. I feel like that's kind of what shaped me to who I am today. But no, like you said,
what are those things that you saw, Desmond? I'm sorry to cut you off. What are some of the things that you saw at an early age?
Yeah, obviously the partying, some of the stuff that goes on, around a house or so-called, a college house or whatever.
Gotcha.
Just seeing those different things, really made me mature a lot quicker. But like I said, it wasn't just, my mom in this fight of growing me as a man, as a young boy. Like you said, to have my grandmother there, my aunt and uncle who were also there. Obviously, at the time, my uncle was kind of my father figure role model at the time. So my stepdad took in when I was about 6, I think. And so, really it was just a family camaraderie that we had. My aunt, who was an adopted aunt, cousin, whatever you guys like to say, she's like 3, 4 months older than me. So it was kind of like growing up with a sister. So, at the same time, I have all these, young adult teenagers, older people in the house, but then I also have another, little one that's right there with me, and we're growing up together. So, it was just a crazy household at all times. People in and out, nonstop. You just had to get it how you live it.
I feel you. So Claire, how did you meet your wife? Because you married your high school sweetheart, right? How'd you guys meet?
Yes, sir. So I think it was about going into freshman year football. Obviously, we met up with, some of the football players, and one of my buddies, he was like, we was going to see a movie, and, one of his neighbors wanted to come. So he was like, okay. And so, when we walked in the movie theater, he was like, hey, this is my friend Claire. And she was right there. And, I was like, dang, okay, this might be the one here. And then, after that, it was pretty much wraps from that. We were friends for about another year, kind of, small talk, this, that, a lot of rumors of this and that. But then I think it was, into sophomore year, junior year was when, I finally popped the question.
Into sophomore year, junior. So was you one of those last day of school players? Because that was definitely me. Like, I worked up the nerve on the last day of school. Is that how it worked or what?
Nah, yeah. So I went to all boys Catholic school, and she went to all girls Catholic school. So the only time we might see each other is at the weekends on a party or something like that.
All right. So so what was the line? Like, how did you do it? Because all right, since we family now, we sharing. This kind of embarrassing, but honestly, I think it's smooth. So when I first tried to like engage with my would-be wife, this was back in like 2001, I want to say it was. I asked her for an email address. I thought that was a little less intrusive than the phone number. She still clowns me about it now, but it worked. So how did you get Claire?
I think she still clowns me about it, and I think she still has a picture, but it was a comment on the picture that she had on Instagram. It was like, yo, like, what's your number? And then she gave it to me just right there on the Instagram.
Okay.
None of us are famous, so it's just all of our friends on there. Ain't got nothing to worry about.
Right.
So she put it on there.
You shot your shot and it worked.
I had to.
So you are a guy, whether it's in life or in football, you know what you want and you know what you got to do to go get it. I wonder about your camaraderie and your the type of family, the type of connection, the type of chemistry you have with some of your other young teammates, especially on the offensive side of the ball. I'm talking about Drake. I'm talking about Tyler. I'm talking about Kyle. And obviously Bijan is being welcomed into that. What kind of camaraderie and chemistry do you guys have?
Man, those are family members right there. Those are brothers. And to me, those are brothers. And, to the rest of my family and daughter, those are their uncles. I have them over for dinner a lot of the times. A lot of the times we're, going bowling, going to Top Golf, whatever it may be. They're just, they're there for me. They're there for, not only myself, but my family. Anything that I need, that they need, we're there for each other. We're playing golf. We're doing everything together just to try to build that camaraderie. But like I said, Fitz, Kyle, Drake, Tyler Algier, all the guys come over and, Leighton knows them as Uncle. It's Uncle Drake, Uncle Tyler, Uncle Fitz, Uncle Kyle. So, just try to make it as family as possible. We got the connection off the field and have the connection and trust off the field. Then we know once we step on that field and that there's nothing's going to break us.
The main thing I take away from this, man, as I let you go, and it's good to get to know you, good to get to know about your family, your background. The main thing I take away is for all the people speculating about what the Falcons might do at quarterback this offseason, whether they needed to replace or upgrade from a guy that just got there last year in the third round, they just don't know. They don't know you. They don't know what goes on in that building. They don't know the camaraderie and the chemistry and the relationship that you have with the teammates. But I got a feeling that they're about to find out.
Yeah, for sure. There's some people who go about this league and, some people just go about maybe a paycheck or, just go about the game and football. I would say I'm, just a broad category of, want to be great in everything. Want to be great on the field, want to be great off the field in meetings, want to have, great relationships, great trust, just to have that connection. Like I said, if you have that connection off the field, then, on the field, it's pretty hard to stop.
Well, looking forward to you guys. Gonna be a fun team to watch, a fun offense, that's for sure. With that supporting cast that you now have, Desmond Ridder, appreciate the time, man. All the best to you and the family. Remember, the days may be long, but the years are short. So give Leighton my best and enjoy it. Before you know it, she'll be pulling out the garage, driving your next kid to school. That's just I don't know where the time is going.
Hey, trust me, I've seen that with my sister firsthand. I have a little sister. She's 7 years younger, and she just got her license to go drive by herself now. So that's what blew my mind about 2 weeks ago. So, man, it's flying by. But thank you so much for having me.
This is a lot of fun, man. Appreciate you. Good luck.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, my main man, Chris Sims, is here with me now to close the book on the 2023 NFL. Well, not really close it because it's really just they haven't even written their book yet. But
that's right. It's just opening up.
We're wrapping up the coverage. But one team that I think for sure is going to be, because I'm a sucker for alliteration, fascinating, fun to watch, and frustrating AF to defend is the Falcons. First team, I believe they're the first team in NFL history to go tight end, wide receiver, running back in the top 10 in back-to-back drafts. And so Arthur Smith's got a lot of toys to play with, Chris, but there's questions about the trigger man. There's questions about Desmond Ridder. So I'd love for you to take me back to your evaluations of him last year, coming out of Cincinnati, coming into the 2022 NFL draft, what you saw out of him in limited action as a rookie, and what you expect of him moving forward with this supporting cast. They not only took Bijan, they took Bergeron with their second pick at the top of the second round. So he's got a lot of help. Doesn't seem to have to do much. So what is your read on Ridder?
No, I think, you said a lot of right things. And first off, with Atlanta, let's hit on that. I mean, hey, what they did, I'm with you. They deserve, I think, a little more love in the draft. To me, their first 2 picks there, I don't know if 2 picks really change a team more than that. I know the Houston Texans quarterback and Willie Anderson Jr., but you're talking about results that are going to relate to the field right now. Man, I mean, that offensive line was already one of the best in football. You said it's Pitts and Drake London, and now you're going to have one of the guys that's one of the best running backs in football, and the O-line's going to get better. They kind of doubled down on one of the strengths of their team in the draft and just said, no, we're going to make it stronger, which I kind of like. I do think a little bit there's some value to that. Some teams, they try to spread the wealth everywhere, and I go, well, you don't have one unit on your team that's worth a damn now. So they have something tangible that's going to make you change the way you have to play them. Free agency kicked butt this year too, Michael, right? So they're one of the teams that's, in my opinion, kind of winning the offseason. Ridder, getting back to him, first off, that's why I love their draft. It takes pressure off of him. He doesn't have to come in and go 35 for 42 and 300 yards every game. He's going to be able to run the ball, right. RPOs, read options, some quarterback design runs here and there, bootleg play action to Pitts, Drake London. They're going to play what we saw, I think, from the Tennessee Titans like a few years ago when they went to the AFC Championship game. They're going to ride that run game and have an efficient quarterback behind that. Ridder coming out, Michael, liked him, right, but had some questions. First off, I'll say this. The man, probably my favorite guy I was around out of all those quarterbacks in that draft class. I could see why people latched on to the human being. Has a natural feel for the game, knows how to play the position, but there are some things with his throwing that has to continue to improve. It improved last year. He definitely had a little bit of a tighter motion. He was more consistent with accuracy. That was the big thing coming out of Cincinnati, where you'd go, you'd watch a game and you go, hey, there's some good plays and some good throws, but then you'd watch, 6, 7 throws, and you go, damn, you're too good to miss that or do that right there. So I did see a step in the right direction. We'll see if that continues here throughout the spring and into preseason.
Yeah, I initially, when the mock draft had Bijan Robinson going to the Falcons at 8, I was like, you already got a 1,000-yard rookie running back you hit on in the 5th round, and now Algier, he's cheap. What's the point of waiting on running backs? See, I'm one of those wait on running backs kind of guy, but the more I think about it, the more I really love it. But I'll come back to that in a second. Speaking of love, so Jordan Love, instead of his 5th-year option, the Packers sweetened it and signed him to an extension. So a little bit more clarity, or a little more commitment, I should say, when it comes to the Packers and Jordan Love. And they were committed. Their love language, if you will, was receiving gifts for Jordan Love. And we've talked for a long time, it seems, years, about Aaron Rodgers and what he didn't get, even though he just didn't get in the first round, but he did get support. But in this draft, they were hell-bent. I think it was 5 pass catchers and a running back, but they gave him 2 tight ends and 3 wide receivers. What is your read? What's the book on Jordan Love? Because a lot of people are looking at it like, oh, the Packers is just going to be next in line. Favre, and they developed Rodgers behind Favre, and they developed Love after Rodgers, and he's just going to take the baton and keep this thing going. What's the book on Jordan Love?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'm quite as confident of the handoff here. And again, with Favre to Rodgers, we had our questions too. But there was things about Rodgers' game that I guess I had less questions about than compared to Jordan Love. But
and he also wasn't great at the beginning.
In the right direction with what we saw in Jordan Love last year. And I talked about it with Florio a little bit actually earlier today, and just the fact that, that game, Sunday Night Football, best team in the game in the Philadelphia Eagles, down, in the second half in Philadelphia. I mean, he didn't blink. Right, tough situation. He didn't blink, so I love that. And he is a guy that has continued to grow in throwing as far as decision making and kind of cleaning up the mechanics of his throwing motion to become more consistent too. And you saw that in the Philadelphia Sunday night game. I think that was a jump off spot for the Green Bay organization to kind of go, hey, wait, this guy can do this, right? I mean, we don't expect him to be the MVP, but he can do this. So I love the draft, right? I do. I mean, those two tight ends, they're freaky. Get a slot receiver to go with Dobbs and Christian Watson. So now you got guys that can work the middle of the field. You got two weapons on the outside. Exactly, and they can run it. Exactly. So to me, Green Bay is one of those teams that I want to kind of put an asterisk next to and say watch out for them because they underperformed last year. They were better than what their record was. There's a bunch of reasons we can go into that. But I wouldn't be shocked to see them in the thick of things in the NFC. I'm not going to put them in the class of the Eagles and the 49ers, but, man, their roster, it's damn good throughout. There's not a lot of holes, and I do like what they did in the draft, and I like what they did with Jordan Love with this little sweetener too, Michael, right? It covers their ass in case, okay, wait, he does do well, and okay, we got him locked up for another year after that. It covers his ass, and wait, if I fall apart or the year doesn't go great, you still owe me some money the next year too. So it's a win-win for both. I think that's well done by the Packers organization.
Reportedly could be worth up to $22.5 million with $13.5 million guaranteed and then replacing the fifth-year option. So the team that kept the Packers out of the playoffs last year, the Lions, I want to get into them because, and it kind of connects to the Falcons conversation we were just having. So I think you know this about me, Chris. My favorite sporting event of the year, my favorite sporting event, period, is the NFL draft. Always has been. Therefore, my favorite day is day 3. What is now day 3? Back in the day when you and I were kids, it was a day 2. It was day 1. It was 1st, 2nd, 3rd. Right. Day 2 was 4 through 7 once they went from 12 to 7. And then now it's day 3. So day 3 is my favorite day because to me, that's for the real ones. That's for the hardcore guys. That's where the teams really make their money, as you know. So another reason I love day 3 is it kind of shuts people up. Because a lot of people after Thursday night, after round 1, they're like, what the hell are they doing? You know, these guys are, you know, they have no clue. They start giving grades after one round as if the job is done. But I look at a team like Detroit, and I'll be honest with you, man. When Detroit made their first 2 picks, when they drafted Jahmyr Gibbs, another running back in the top dozen picks, and let's call him a running back. He's more of a weapon, but his designation is running back. And then they take an off-the-ball linebacker at 18 in the top 20. I'm like, damn, this is like a throwback draft. This doesn't feel like a very modern draft on the part of the Detroit Lions. But I love what they did in round 2, getting Laporta from Iowa at tight end, going back to Iowa, getting Branch at defensive back. Not even going to call him a safety, defensive back from Alabama. And then your main man, Hendon Hooker, in the 3rd round. They had Broderick Martin from Western Kentucky also in the 3rd round. But in the 2nd and 3rd round in particular is where Detroit, I thought, really did work. What'd you think? But I bring up Detroit in particular because there's a lot of people. This is the first time I've seen negative press about Detroit in a long time. I've seen F's given to Detroit's grade. I've seen people feel like they're one of the big losers in the draft. Where do you come down on Detroit's draft? Because a lot of people see them as that team ready to take the next step.
Yeah, I see them as that team, and I'm more like you. I thought it was a really good draft. I really did. Now, listen, I'm going to give the mantle and the trophy to the Philadelphia Eagles for what they did in the draft.
For sure. They win. It's them and everybody else. Yeah,
exactly. But you get into the tier 2 of teams that I think did really good. You know, we hit on Atlanta, right? We're going to hit on the Lions. I'm with you. Here's the big thing. Yeah, you're right. There was too much made about round 1. And I get that. You know, first off, I'd like to say Jahmyr Gibbs, to me, I had him and Bijan Robinson as tier 1, the top 2 running backs in the draft. I don't think there's that big of a gap between Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs.
Am I wrong that there were some teams that had Gibbs above Robinson?
I don't think you are because, Gibbs has the ability to go 80 to the house. Bijan Robinson's not that. He'll have a lot of 15 and 20 and 25 and all that. But Jahmyr Gibbs is one of the few people in the draft where you went, hey, here's the ball. Oh, he can score anywhere. Those were limited in this draft, as you know. It was a lack of superstar draft. So there's great value in that. And I did not think the gap was that big. So one, I'm going to be one to sit here and tell you, like, yeah, okay, 12 is maybe a little high as far as the value of the draft, but it isn't really. Like, if we take in the context of this and go, wait, they're a running team, they got a great offensive line, they feel like they're missing that weapon/running back to take their team over the top. So we're going to downgrade them because they got the number one player at the position they felt they needed to address 10 spots too early. So we're mad at them. We're going to give them an F because of that. Because they got the player they wanted for the need they needed. And we're going to give them a back. That, to me, that's just draft pundit bullshit right there, Michael. Yeah. I mean, that's what that is, right?
Real
and then
talk.
Jack Campbell, I hear you there too, right? Yeah, it was too early for me. I had an early second-round grade somewhere in 35 to 40 range. But again, they got a desperate need for middle linebacker. I think they're a team that when they looked at their positions, they went, wait, we like these 3 or 4 guys at running back. We like these 2 or 3 guys at linebacker. And Gibbs and Campbell were top of that list. And they went, wait, they're here right now. Why risk not having them and trading back and then missing the guy we absolutely wanted that we felt fit the need, fit our locker room, fit our culture, and everything there. And then you're right. A lot of people judged off of round 1. And Sam Laporta, to me, was the second best tight end in the draft behind Dalton Kincaid. Brian Branch, like you said, DB, he could arguably, he could be one of the best nickels in football. That's what he's going to be. He's amazing at nickel, free safety, whatever you want there. And then to get the quarterback of the future, yes, I'm with you all the way, my main man, Michael Smith. I think Detroit did a great job, and I'm never going to fault a team for addressing an issue of their team and, they got the play wanted 10 or 15 spots too early. Like, come on. I don't see it that way.
Right. You get the guy you want, and he works out. And not to mention the guys that go ahead of him that people think are superstars that don't work out. So it's like you never know.
Exactly.
I mean, it's all in fun. Right. But you're right. There is a whole lot of bullshit that flies around the NFL draft. And look, I've been a part of it for years, but it's the machine that we all love. So look, but I want to go deeper with you though, Chris. I want to go deeper. I want to go see because we've given enough time to the top 5 quarterbacks and the first round guys and this, that, and the other. Bro, I want to nerd out with you because, we know that there was a record number of quarterbacks taken, or at least a record tying number of quarterbacks taken this year. I believe the number is 14. Am I right? So 14 quarterbacks taken. And I would like to go beyond the Strouds, the Youngs, the Richardsons, the Levises, the Hookers. And I want to talk about Haener in New Orleans and Bennett in Los Angeles. Not each of them, O'Connell in Vegas and Toon in Arizona and DTR in Cleveland, Clifford in Green Bay, Hall in Minnesota, Max Duggan in Los Angeles. It's like, there's a lot of guys that everybody's looking for that next Brock Purdy. Is there a quarterback who landed in a spot and his circumstances may not scream, oh, he's next, but landed in a spot where he could either be developed by that coaching staff or be an heir apparent that somebody could end up finding a diamond in the rough, finding the next Brock Purdy, which is everybody's trying to replicate that blind luck by the 49ers last year? It wasn't, I don't want to take away from it. It wasn't blind. It wasn't blind luck, but it's like if they knew he was going to be that good, he wouldn't have been Mr. Irrelevant. They obviously liked him enough to draft him there, but who knew that he'd be that guy,
No, exactly. I think, hey, context it matters in that conversation too. Everybody wants their Brock Purdy, but I want to go, okay, do you have the 49ers football team and Kyle Shanahan to make it all work too? Yeah. I mean, he's only the most creative play designer in football behind him, and it's only the second most talented roster in football, right? So it's not easy to replicate. Right. There's other things that went into that. So is there guys that have that type of potential? Sure. And was Brock Purdy probably misdrafted or underdrafted to a degree? Sure. There's no doubt about that too. But you hit on a few of the ones that I like if you want to get later down the list. One, I like Jake Haener. That New Orleans draft in the 4th round. I love him. Natural at the position. Actually really good at everything other than he's small and slow. But talking about playing the position, different armor, he says tough as hell. You're right.
Yeah.
So I like that. And he's the kind of guy to where, as a rookie, he's gotten a lot of reps and played, and if he had to get thrown in there for a game because Derek Carr got hurt, he'd be okay. The other one I like, you brought his name up too, is Clayton Tune, right? Clayton Tune, similar to what I just said about Haener, except I think there's more physical ability and top-end potential. He's 6'2", he's 220, he ran a 4.59. He played a ton in Houston. He threw the ball 45, 50 times a game, so he's had lots of reps, and he's got feel for the game. He's got a nice, consistent, accurate motion. In fact, I wish he would just let it go a little bit more. But, those are two that jump out to me. And I'm a big fan of DTR. I mean, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, I thought in my evaluation from what I saw in film was every bit as good, or if not better, than Will Levis. Maybe the potential wasn't the same. I get that. But where they are right now, if you needed a guy to go out and run an offense and do all that, I'd take DTR. And I think that's a great spot he landed in Cleveland. It's a perfect scheme fit. He'll get to learn from Deshaun Watson and Josh Dobbs. And so those are three that certainly jump out to me that are down the line a little bit.
And then you got Tanner McKee in Philadelphia. Like a lot of times, as you know, it's not when you were drafted, it's where you were drafted and into what were you drafted. See Brock Purdy in San Francisco. Who's going to be – so there was a couple of running backs that went late, man, that I love too. Chase Brown, the fifth round is not that late, but Chase Brown went to Cincinnati. And then you had, obviously, Kenny McIntosh went to Seattle, who loaded up on running backs, interestingly. Dwayne McBride. I get the fumbling issues. I get the lack of receiving work, but I love his running style out of UAB. Going to Minnesota, also a crowded running back room. So sticking with that theme of diamonds in the rough and gems and steals from day three, it's like, I've asked you about this year's Brock Purdy. Who's this year's Isaiah Pacheco?
Yeah, good one, right? And, I've heard, first off, let's hit on that Seattle thing, right? Seattle drafted 2 running backs, and everybody thinks it's like some threat to Kenneth Walker, and I want to be like, what? Kenneth Walker's like a freak show. There ain't nobody that's a threat to Kenneth Walker unless you're talking about like the best running backs in the game. He's already there. They drafted these guys because they're like, hey, we got a superstar. We'd like him to last a little bit while, so let's not kill him here in the first 3 years. I think that's more about what that's about than anything else.
So it's not a committee. It's not an indictment of something that Walker
I don't
can't
think
do
so
or
at
not
all.
a desire
No.
to spread it around. It's gotcha.
I think it's trying to be smart and not kill a guy who, can run 80 yards up the sidelines, but like we saw, can run people over and plays a physical brand too. And let's try to make him last for 5 or 6.
But there's no such thing as a workhorse running back anymore either. They're few and far between. You know what I mean? It's like it's all committee now. Everybody, you need more than one. Bottom line, you need more than one.
Definitely
everybody
do.
uses
you
multiple
definitely
backs.
do.
Yeah.
And with as freaky as defenses are and everything now, to just go bell cow running back, that's too hard. They're one of the last teams that did it anyways with Marshawn Lynch, right? They were kind of going that route. I think they like the bell cow thing, but they're gonna be smart here with a special football player. I like what you said about Chase Brown. All right. Chase Brown was a top 5 running back in the draft for me. That was a great pick by the Cincinnati Bengals. Hey, Roschon Johnson. Okay, that in Chicago. Yeah. I'm just going to say, watch out for that. I mean, again, after those top 2 in Gibbs and Bijan Robinson, I thought Roschon Johnson's skill set translated to the NFL maybe better than anybody else outside those 2 guys right there. 220, can run you over, got quick feet. So that's one certainly. I love Sean Tucker, undrafted free agent to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
How do you go undrafted? How do you go undrafted?
It's all medical, Michael. It's all medical. He's got a few nagging problems and been beat up there in Syracuse, so that led to him falling down the line a little bit. I'm missing a few other ones. Hey, I like the Tennessee Titans and Tyjae Spears. Eric Gray and the Giants in the 5th. Eric Gray's a player to me out of Oklahoma. So, like you're talking about, there's some value and some ballers to be had at that position as you get later on in the draft.
All right, last nerd out question before I let you go, man. Just overall, and maybe give some love to some defensive guys. Like, give me your favorite, late round, diamond in the rough, steal, gem, or even undrafted free agent, to your point. I love the shout out of Sean Tucker. Maybe even an undrafted guy that caught your eye, but just a dude that's maybe slipped through the cracks that you're like, yo, this is a guy he's got a shot. It's a long shot, but he's got a shot.
Yeah, I think one All right, I'm going to give love to the Bengals with DJ Turner in the 3rd round. All right,
Okay.
DJ Turner, the corner out of Michigan who ran 4.29. I think man-to-man, he's as good as anybody there is in the draft as far as just like lockdown island-type corner. I thought his cover skills were right up there with Devin Witherspoon, right? So that's just like maybe a mid-round guy that I loved in a big-time way, right? There's a guy that Chicago who I got a man crush on here that they took later on in the draft in let me just get to it here. Oh, I'm messing it up here. I think I messed up my guy's name. All right, good. Hold on a second here. It's my Bowling Green guy, and I'm blanking on his name because I got so many damn
I know what you're talking
things.
about.
He's the 300-pound outside linebacker.
You talking about Carl Brooks?
Carl Brooks, yes. Where the hell did he end up? Where did he end up? Oh, Packers. That's it. I knew I was in the right division.
Yeah.
Right. Carl Brooks, if you want to talk about a, late round guy that I go, maybe in a few years jumps
Pick
on the scene. You go, where? Right. Wait, you go, where the guy come from? Right? First off, he's like one of those, Michael, like I turned on the film and I was like, wait, am I reading this right? He's 300 pounds and he's playing outside linebacker? What? Right? So that was the first thing that you went, so they think he's athletic enough to play outside linebacker. That says something in itself. And then you watch and you go, whoa, this guy's ability to change direction and run sideline to sideline and rush the passer, it's all really, really damn good. Defensive tackle, he's going to be an issue in there in passing downs. Now, he's got to work on some like anchor and run game, double team stuff, right? He's athletic. He's always trying to disrupt and do all that. But, man, that would be one guy towards the end of the rounds that I would look at to go, watch out for him. Another one I'll throw out there. If I could go like who's this year's mid-round receiver that I think can maybe blow up, and I talked about him a little on my podcast, Marvin Mims Jr., he could be this year's version of Terry McLaurin, right? Where we go, damn, how did he end up in the 3rd round, right? He's got a rocket up his ass. Oh, we docked him because he was on a bad Oklahoma team this year. I don't know. If he had Baker Mayfield or Kyler Murray thrown to him, he probably would have been a top 40 pick, but he got in a shit team, so we all dropped him down. That was another one I really liked for Sean Payton and the Broncos.
Okay, all right, I'm feeling that. Listen, dude, I could literally do this with you all day. I could nerd out with you all day, man, but I know you got to go. You got to go handle business with Chris Sims Unbuttoned. Y'all already subscribing. Y'all already rating it. Y'all already giving it 5 stars. I know y'all mofos are following my main man, Chris Sims. So appreciate you, man. Thanks so much for following through. Good to catch up with you. Get some well-deserved rest, okay?
I want some rest, that's for sure. My ass is tired, but thanks for having me on, man. You the man. I always enjoy it, Michael. You the man.
All right, bro. Be good. Thank you. All right, that's a wrap for episode 2 of my main man, Michael Smith. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for giving it 5 stars. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for the thumbs up. Thank you for liking it. All that stuff. Oh, be sure to follow the new Instagram handle for the show. It's at my main man pod, again, on Instagram. Give us a follow, like the content, comment and whatnot, support it. Appreciate you guys kicking it with me, spending the time with me. As I've said so often, there is nothing more flattering and nothing I'm more grateful for as a member of the media than you guys willing to spend part of your day listening to me and my friends. All right, until next week, y'all be good. Hey, thanks so much for kicking it with your main man, Michael Smith. Be sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel, but also subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Rate it, review it, tell your friends about it. Oh, and be sure to follow me on social media.